Welcome back, everyone, to Salem, South Dakota, a map created by Federal for Farming Simulator 11. A large map, 4x, 4 times the normal size, and this now is the third episode that we have on this map, just to showcase it a little bit. And we've kind of been talking about some of the flaws of the map, not focusing so much on some of the strong points. And as I was looking around this barnyard here, we're kind of on the federal home place. I have a feeling these are real buildings. When you look at the boards on the sides of these buildings, I have a feeling Federal took pictures himself of these. Oh, see, here we see another flaw of this kind of building. We have a corn crib. That appears to be what this is. And the roof. You go inside and it's wide open. But it does indeed have a roof on it. Yeah, that's the trouble with some 3D objects. You have to have something on the inside of them, or it doesn't exist and you see right through them. But I digress. One of the things I wanted to do in the last episode, we were trying to fix problems caused by, as we see the plane flying overhead, the problems posed by having static objects that end up getting moved by a script. And one of the culprits, of course, was the plane that just passed overhead. So the last episode, we kind of finished fixing those, if you will, in the Giants editor. And so if we pop open our log here, you'll notice there are no more recurring errors. So we finally have something stable, and just wanted to show proof, if you will, and then we got rid of those particular errors. There are some other errors, I think, up in here, but they're related to mods, particularly the one that's on the back of the tractor here. And you'll notice I assembled a bunch of equipment here in the barnyard. I want to do a little farming here in a bit. But there are still a couple things I wanted to visit about in terms of fixing. And one is kind of a bane of the 4X maps back in Farm Sim 11. It's just the game wasn't designed for a modder to take a 4X map or to make a map that was 4 times the regular size. So you'll see when we pop open our handy PDA map, we have the appearance of being in the alpha field, just across the way over here, just on the other side of the street. And matter of fact, we are so far into the alpha field, according to this, we are standing next to the fence at the airport. Now, I've walked down there before. It takes forever in game. We're not going to do it now. And all it ends up doing is it keeps, as you can notice here, it keeps going down, 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 and it's just, the long and the short of it is, the PDA map isn't accurately showing, where we are on the map. Technically, you see the federal farms area right up there. We're close to it, but we're just not pegged exactly, where we need to be. And I don't think it's because there's anything wrong, with the particular PDA map. It's just the game doesn't know what to do with it. The game is assuming that this is a standard-sized map and not a big one. So we need to kind of trick or tell the game, if you will, kind of what's going on here. So let me hop out of the game. I'm just going to get all the way out because I want to fix it. The next time we come in here, we should be dead center on Federal Farms. You can kind of see it right up there. So let me hop out, and I'll be back in a minute. All right, Here is a FarmSim 11 script that is specific to the Mission PDA. This is the Giant's own script, and actually we need to open this. And it is specific to the PDA, which includes a number of things, including the map itself. So whenever there's a new game or a new save, there will be something that initiates this particular script, and I don't know who does it, who done it, if you will. Suffice it to say, this is where it's going to come. And if you read this, and it's got all sorts of gobbledygook in here, you get down to here, it's creating all these parameters, and it's returning all of this stuff as a single object to whoever is calling it. So one of the things we notice in here right up front is the world size X and Z, which is 4 and this would be north and south and east west, is a square, 2,048 meters. And right here is the problem. It's basically set up to be approximately 2 kilometers per side. That's a standard map. But when you have a 4X, it is 4,096 meters on a side. And this then is used, you'll see world size X over here for the center offset, X and Z. This is the only place it appears to be used in this area up here. I think later on in the script it maybe is used various places, but what we need to do is tell the game to redefine these particular parameters. So the way we do that is with an overwritten function. We want to overwrite the Mission PDA new function. So what I did is I just slammed some, every map in this era came with a sample mod map Lua file, and it has various items in here, where the mapper could have some items that he wanted to put in here that were different from what came with the base game. And so we already have a class identified here, sample mod map. So I just tack something on at the bottom here, and I'll take this off. I turned it off just so we could see kind of the effect. So I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but it's real simple. Mission PDA new. That's the one we were just on over here. Mission PDA new, and we want to use utils overwritten. Who are we overriding? We're overriding Mission PDA new. What are we overriding it with? We're overriding it with sample mod map dot new PDA. And of course, this function is defined right up here. And we put the superfunc in here so we can call it itself as is. So we have local instance. And instance, this is just a variable, if you will, that's going to hold the entire result of whatever this does. And what this is going to do, superfunc self, even though it's kind of weird language, it's going to run everything you see here. Everything. All the way to here. And it's going to grab all of this stuff going on, see where it returns instance. And then over here, it says, wait, before you return it and send it on, hold it here because we're going to tweak it. So we come in here and we alter the world size X and the world size Z. Remember how it was 2048, for a 4X conversion for the PDA, I multiplied it, both of them by 2. And because these other variables were dependent upon world size X and world size Z, I recalculated them here. You kind of see that over in here. Let me go up a little bit. Right here. So you see that these are calculated based on those, so I figured we had to redo them. Don't know exactly what they're used for. I could figure it out, but I won't. So we get all that done, and we say, okay, now that we change this, kick it on and return the instance. And now it'll get out of the loop. So, and kick it on with our suggested changes. So I have saved this in Salem, South Dakota's mod map, this sample mod map Lua. So let's go back to the game, and we're going to hop into it here and see what changes. Back in a moment. Alright, we are back in game, and if everything went according to plan, we are now exactly where we're supposed to be on the PDA map. So I just wanted to show that ad in case there's anybody out there who ever enjoys a 4X map and they want to make the PDA map work in game. Well, here's how one way you can do it. I have heard there are some mods out there where you can bypass this, or it'll have a full screen map, but I don't know, as long as we're using this little gizmo down here, this is another way to do it with a real simple fix. Now, I got some farming to do, but there's one other thing I wanted to show. In the original version of the map, you could walk through every single one of these buildings. And I don't know if that was deliberate. Sometimes, I think mappers will render objects so you see them on the screen, but they will leave them without what are called collisions. When a collision, of course, is when one thing runs into another and stops, or like this, boom, we just collided with the wall. Well, previously, I would have been able to just walk straight through these buildings, drive through them, plow through them, do whatever I wanted. And I went in there and I reestablished all the collisions. And like I say, I don't know if it was intended by the map author to have it that way, but I figured there should be a few hard objects. Now, I didn't do the add on a lot of the fences. I think this one is a hard object, but some of the fences way out in the fields, I left them alone because it's so doggone hard to see them, that it's kind of helpful to have, something that stops you. Alright, so in the map briefing, one of the things that he mentions is barley has been reskinned. It doesn't regrow. You can probably plant it. It's all this grass, that is on the edges of in the ditches and that kind of thing. But he says you can cut it and you can bale it up. So with this swather unit that we have here, so I'm going to just give it a try. Woo! That's a ditch. Okay. Maybe let me come over here. I'll kind of hug the side, and I'm going to just take this on a little spin. And by the way, this particular mod, as I recall, had some issues. Boy, look how fast that sucker is spinning. That is just wild. I think that's one of the problems. Over my Feldy save, I know I spent some time with this, trying to slow it down, make it a little more normal. These fences out here, I left the collisions off, so I don't know how fast it'll let me do this. But yeah, it seems to be dropping it down just like, we would expect. So this actually, like he says, is the barley fruit. And this is what you do with it. And it will never regrow on its own. So the action we're doing here is permanent, as I understand it. And in order to get more on here, I guess we'd have to plow this up and replant. So I'm kind of curious because I don't remember. I remember the last time when I played on this map, I did a lot of baling up, with this particular unit. And what I did is I did it around all the edges of the fields. Oh, if I could drive straight. And that way I had a little bit freer course, kind of doing some of the field work. It was smoothed off, just a little bit. But what I don't remember is what kind of bales came out of here. So I just bought the basic equipment. So, and I suspect what has happened is, or this particular windrower. Yeah, see, this is where modders have to be clever, when they trick the game. We only think we were cutting grass, but I would bet money that if we popped open that mod, what we would see instead is a combine. And a combine with no barley output or whatever. And of course, as we all know, behind the combine it puts a windrow, so this is probably straw. Actually, you know what? As I look here, this isn't a field entrance at all. Or is it? Is there any... Oh, maybe there is. See, you can't even see this. I did not see this at all when I first came in here, so... I don't know if there's something to raise or lower. I don't think there is, so I'm just going to see if this... By George, look at that. It is picking it up. Cool. I don't even know if I have cut enough here to generate a bale or two. I even picked up a trailer so that we could pick the bales up if we wanted. But, it's going to leave it kind of bare once we cut all this off. So this kind of was... It's an interesting choice as to why he eliminated barley or turned it into a kind of grass here, where you would... Oh yeah, you can see, as I look on it now, you can see the barley in there. It's barley bales, if you will. So I guess we dropped one bale. Whoop. There's another... And I guess he doesn't explain, I imagine maybe he got rid of barley. If barley isn't particularly grown in this region, that could be the reason he did it. But he didn't really explain why, so suffice it to say, we can't grow barley conventionally in this particular map. Alright, let me turn that off. Okay, so we've proven that that works. And that we can bale kind of this funny looking style of grass. So, I don't know that we'll get to Alpha today. I think he said he overwrote the grass that's in there, so... Another thing I wanted to test was I think he called it spring wheat. And this also needs, it probably is just the regular wheat, that comes with the game. Let's see if I can sneak through here. Is this solid fence? Oh, yeah, that's a hard object there. So here we do have to respect the boundaries. Let me see if I can sneak through there without causing a problem. So this now is wheat, and I believe he said we are to also windrow it and then come along with the combine. Oh, see, it's putting a lot of grass garbage in there. Maybe I just need to be over far enough. I think when we come along with a combine, it'll pull this out. Oh, there's kind of a dip coming up in the field, kind of an irrigation channel, if you will. Oop, I guess I could have swung wide now there, couldn't have I? Yeah, kind of making a mess. Ah! I guess it doesn't cut. I hit the wrong button. Oh my word, what a mess. Oh, okay, note to self, don't back up with this thing because it'll make a disaster, kind of like this, rather than a tight windrow. So, let me see if I can... Yeah, see, there's fences all over in this thing, and that's probably the biggest reason. Let me see if I can back over to here. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It didn't like that. I'm pretty sure the roadside one over here I could drive through if I wanted. I just didn't want to have to mess with them out here. And I've noticed a number of appers who will do that, maybe for the sake of courseplay. You know, they'll remove a number of collisions on objects. You know, anytime you see trees next to a field, I've seen those with collisions removed. You know, if there's power lines coming through the fields. Sometimes, even though it isn't reality, we all know that those, you can't drive through power lines, but sometimes an apper, you know, will leave those alone, or leave those without collisions, if you will, just for the sake of the player, to make things a little bit easier. Now, let me see here. I don't know how this was intended. That's probably why there's a little grass path. Surely that's why. Kind of around the edge of the field. So you could come in here with this windrower. And last time, you know, I don't know that I remember trying to harvest this with the combine. It's pretty rare that you see Farming Simulator 11 set up for the combine to take something in that has been windrowed. Pretty rare. This, I say, it would be one of the few. I know I've spent a fair amount of time on Feldy. It's also another one of the few. Most of the time, I think when we come out here, we're anticipating, you know, a combine with a grain table or the corn header. Lift that up so I don't make a mess. Backing up. Interesting that it does that. And I'll continue on the way here. I probably have plenty done. How big is this area? Oh my, yes, I got a bunch of area to go. So alright, let's head over to our combine. Yeah, see, we have the grain table, so first order of business, we're going to drop that. I basically just wanted to have some available. So one of the mods that came with this particular map, we'll see up here and just ahead of the combine. And is it just me, or does it seem like this map is a bit dark? Although I don't know if it's the map per se, or if it's Farm Sim 11 just in general. You know, where it just doesn't seem as bright. Or if it's because it's 7:31 in the morning. Shoot, what do I know? Maybe it's still trying to figure out morning. Now, will this combine be able to sneak through here? It can. Okay, good. So even though this was probably from a time era when it was designed for smaller equipment, it looks like it is still able to handle our big dudes. Oop. Now that looks pretty cool. Not very often you see it, but we're going to get this going. Yeah, they had the same... Oh, hey now. What in the world? What's going on? Is there any error? Oh, it's popping an error. Except I don't know what that is. Get button key name. I don't know if it's doing this because I wonder if there's something wrong with the mod. It claims it's on grass, but this is just bizarre. Maybe, alright, let's go back to my tractor. And here, because we're not going to be farming here, let me just get out to the field proper. Yes, I'm running over crop. I'll just kind of sashay around here just a little bit and get only a windrow of the wheat. Okay. Let me get this out of the way. And you see, this little mod even has problems too. You see kind of the telescoping drive shaft down here coming off the PTO. It's kind of laying there on the ground. That looks kind of hokey. Need some fixes, and that's beyond my pay grade. Okay, it doesn't have anything in the tank. Although it says that we're encountering grass. Now, maybe I drop this. No. Now, will it do anything with this? Okay. So this is just kind of strange. I'm going to save this where we're at. And I'm going to come right back. I'm going to edit whatever's in this combine to try to get it out. Back in a moment. Okay, everyone. Welcome back. And I think, I cleared out the grass symbol. So now let me see if this will behave itself as we head back into the wheat. No. It is not. Well, this is counterproductive. I don't know what was causing that other error that we saw. Well, so, it appears that there are some additional errors that would need to be worked out if we were going to use it. As we saw, baling using this unit worked great, but when we turn it into a windrow to pick up with the combine, something is off. And I briefly looked, at this here. This looks great, by the way. The animation is good, working correctly. So is the auger up there. That's all good. But it needs to be able to accept, this particular swath, and it needs to know what to do to convert it into wheat, so the wheat shows up in the tank instead of grass. This thing wasn't designed to haul grass, and yet that's what it says as in here. So there's probably some confusion, and how it's burping out grass behind it is beyond me. But there you have it. Alright, so that doesn't particularly work. Actually, no, let me go back to the combine. I'm going to just drop this, leave it in the field, and, there's nothing in the tank. Sometimes, when there's not that much in there, if you take on a new fruit, it'll convert whatever's in there if it's just a little bit. If you have a bunch, if your tank is half full, it isn't going to just turn it into something new. But I would think with 0 in there that, it'd be... Oh, shoot. Now, you know what? I'm going to have difficulty. Is there a wider entrance? Because the header I have isn't going to fit through the gate. That's some, I think, of what is being depicted with this particular farm is hearkening to an era when equipment was smaller and the farmyards were tighter, more compact, than what they are today. So, and I don't think I have a header trailer here, so I would have to manually push it along the air. So I think instead of doing that, I'm gonna just head out the open or the front entrance, and I'm gonna go back into the field because I know the collisions are off down over here, and see if I can get in that way. And I think there is another field. Well, it's a pasture. Yeah, you know what? Okay, there it is over there. This isn't going to look the best, but we'll just forget that we took off our collisions here. Nothing to see here. Fence we're running. Oh my! Hey, now look at that. Well, this fence. Oh dear. And now I'm on a seesaw. Folks, I'm gonna have to pause it here. I'll be right back. And we are back over here with our combine after we pried it off of the fence. You know, if I was gonna spend any amount of time on here, I think I would go back into the editor and work on these fence posts. These over here have the collisions off, but not those over here or those basically surrounding the farm. So it doesn't make sense to have visual fences here where some you can drive through and others you can't. So probably I would change that. But anyway, we are looking ahead here to soybeans. So just kind of as one other thing to do before we close this out, I'll give this a try. Oh, interesting. When you sneak over here, it detects barley. But right now, that's where it drops a winter. Oh, right now it's detecting canola. And as we recall, he replaced the canola textures with soybean textures. So that's kind of what we have coming into the tank now. Is it has the appearance of canola, but it's actually soybeans. So, and I'm guessing probably what shows up in the tank here is, although I don't know. Yeah, but that's probably rape. That's probably canola. And so, yeah, it's going to be a little visually hard to kind of suspend reality, if you will. And now it's ignoring the barley. When you have plenty in there, it's going to ignore it. So, this, and here I'll just pull out, I'm kind of curious if any textures were changed. I got the trailer set over here. I have a feeling it's going to look just like good old rapeseed once we get it in there. Zoom out. Yeah. Yep, that looks like good old rape. So I give him credit for being very clever in how some fruits were added to the map, but you know, when it superimposes one of the existing fruits, I think there are a few risks, or it kind of messes with suspending reality. So anyway, to close this out, this is the third episode. I'm probably not going to do another one for Federal Farms here on Salem, South Dakota. Just wanted to showcase another map. You know, this is 3 episodes. Shoot, most YouTubers can do it in a single episode. I did want to farm just a little bit on it. It's a huge map. You know, as I circle around here. You know, I believe that blob up here is a barn. It's for the dairy. That is way up there on that end. But this here, as you look across, it is classic Midwestern prairie. Far as the eye can see, it's generally flat land, and it is like a granary for the U.S. There's just lots of grain grown, but as we could kind of see as we looked at the wheat over here, it's going to take some work to really get that functioning properly. And at this point here, I think I've done enough to satisfy taking a look at it one more time from doing it in the past. I don't remember how long I played it in the past. But it's an option out there if anybody wants to explore it further, and I'll leave links down in the description. Thank you for giving it a look, and thank you to the mapper for putting it out there, even if it had a few errors. Always appreciate those who create mods. And yeah, I guess if anybody wants to see a series on it, well, that'd be maybe another question. But for now, I think this will be the final episode. Take care, all. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.